Around America, there are hundreds of paranormal teams investigating cases. In central Pennsylvania, there's one team known for their abilities and results, Mo Valley Paranormal. Join us now for a look into the world of hauntings and how the experts investigate the occurrences. This is Mo Valley Paranormal Live on WBLF. Now, here's Dave Shannon and Tyson Lidgett.
And a wondrous Saturday evening to one and all. I'm Dave Shannon. That guy over there is Tyson Lidgett.
Hello, everybody. I'm so glad to have you along tonight.
Why are we coming out of your speakers and your radio, or maybe on your device through YouTube? Because this is our regular weekly get-together and discussion of the paranormal and the investigation of it. We get together, we talk about things going on with our top-notch group locally, Mo Valley Paranormal, and then we talk about things going on nationwide or around the world that we may have heard about. And eventually it leads up to the big discussion of the weekly, although that's about to dwindle down to a show, and who knows how much longer it's going to be on. I have no idea. But we do talk about paranormal reality TV. And we skipped, the recreation shows. It's just, it's to me, it's not that appealing, and there's so many of them.
Yeah.
And it's not really investigating per se. It's
and a lot of artistic freedom gets put in that, and everything gets turned into something dark and demonic, and that's just not the case.
Yeah. So that's why. We tend to stay away from those types of shows because they have no redeeming quality, shall we say. But we'll try to keep things going along those lines as best we can, because we have heard nothing about, since there seems to be some kind of a problem, Destination America, I guess, is still on.
Yes.
I don't have it on my, I use satellite. And I do not have it on there. And I've noticed the migration of Ghost Brothers was a Destination America show. And so was Ghost Asylum. But we have heard no news about Ghost Asylum. So right now we're looking at either Ghost Adventures comes back with new episodes, which might happen, or we're left in a void, because we're going to talk about the most recent episode of Dead Files this week. But I'm wondering, though, a very strange thing with Travel Channel. They normally keep the time slot and run reruns of Dead Files. And starting this week, there's no hint of Dead Files. So I don't know if they're going to continue the show or not. But, I mean, there's not, to me, the audience that was there and stayed with the show should still be with it. It's not like they changed. The types, obviously you can't change the cases.
Right.
And secondly, you can't really change the methodology that they use. It's pretty simple. You got a psychic medium and you got a former New York City detective, and they try to investigate what's going on in a property, be it a business or a home, and come up with, reasons, or at least one of the things that Steve does, he's become a very good historian, which, as a detective, you have to know the history of the person you're investigating, or the group of people, whatever. You have to know a little bit about their history. So that's part of being a detective, is getting that background. And he does an outstanding job putting that together. And also a, friendly kind of guy. And generally, whether it be a business or a home, people open up to him to tell him what's been going on at their place.
Well, I almost wonder if they're just doing a whole new season, because it seems like the last couple runs have been, bang, 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 like they've been back to back to back. So I wonder if they're just, starting all over, like with a whole new season, filming episodes. Maybe that's why there's a void right now where you don't see any new episodes. So
could be.
They may just be starting over with a whole new season. So we'll see.
Yep. But we'll have something to talk about for an hour, that's for sure. And one of the things I want to get to here is the upcoming lockdown at the old Clearfield County Jail, not the current one. but the old one in downtown Clearfield. And do you still have openings?
We do. I mean, surprisingly, but I mean, we still have openings. We've sold about half of them are still available. I kind of on this point where I always like to sell out lockdowns so as many people as possible can experience these things. But I'm kind of excited because we've never actually had a small group at the Clearfield County Jail. And I mean, if it doesn't go any further than what we are right now, so be it. But I mean, that'd be kind of cool to stay together as a group and move about the prison and maybe do some things that we haven't been able to do with, that we do with two large groups. So, it is what it is. I mean, people will either fill up the spots or they won't. But like I always say, those that have signed up and are ready for April 7th, we're going to have a good time because the Clearfield County Jail is one of our favorite spots as a team. There's always some kind of activity there.
Yes, and, it's not, as in all cases that we've stressed over the course of the show, no guarantees,
No.
but, actually we were there, I assisted as much as I could on an investigation there that was totally unrelated to a lockdown or anything.
Right.
And but that was there was activity that went on there. It wasn't what I'd call necessarily ripe with activity
Right.
the night we did that, but there was activity. So as much as you can think that there probably would be, I'd say there'll probably be at least one or two things happen. There's just so much that's gone on at that prison over the course of time. And it is old, as I've said before. I mean, just from someone who appreciates history and, looking at historic places. And I certainly hope whoever ends up buying this, I don't know if you've heard anything about, whether there is a buyer for it yet or not.
I'm thinking there could be because not too long ago, a friend of mine, a buddy of mine that I work with, says, "Hey, I saw your sticker at the jail." Now, what he's referring to is on all of our lockdowns, we have merchandise we have for sale, and one of the things we sell is a vinyl car decal that has our ghost figure and Mo Valley Paranormal encircling him. And somebody at one of our lockdowns bought one of our car decals and kindly stuck it on one of the bathroom mirrors in the bathroom at the old Clearfield County Jail. So we are forever a part of the old Clearfield County Jail, I guess. And so I said, where'd you see the sticker at? And he told me. And I said, oh, yes, what were you doing there? And he said that they had this very large indoor yard sale where they're selling a lot of their equipment that they used for the land mapping service. So I'm thinking that they have a buyer in prospect, and that could be going to somebody else here in the near future.
So, if nothing else, and not knowing what the disposition of the building would be, because, everybody has their own ideas. I mean, gee whiz, for this, as the state buys up things or whatever, although they tend to sell a lot of the things that they've had, take, for example, the old Phillipsburg State Hospital,
right.
Which is no longer there.
No longer there.
So the idea, and I can't believe I'm getting a phone call in the middle of the show, but we will dispense with that right now. Anyway, it's you would hope that just on its historic value that it would get preserved. But that's not necessarily a guarantee these days. It's, it seems as though there are more private individuals that end up doing the preservation of historic property than you have with governments that seem to want to do that because, well, the feds just build new things all the time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But the state doesn't seem to have much of an interest in preserving historic territories. And, fortunately, we have areas like Gettysburg, but
Right.
that's partially a federal deal, too, at Gettysburg. So who knows what might be going on there if it weren't for the feds, for sure. But, bottom line is, as what I was alluding to, going to this lockdown, if you've never been inside the Clearfield County Jail, and to be in the cell block area, it's priceless. It is really priceless.
Hauntingly beautiful.
Yeah, it takes you beyond what you've seen, what the stereotype of an old jail is, and takes you back past that, back into a previous time. And of course, the exterior of the building is quite, unique too.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be a shame if it does get knocked down. But if it does get knocked down, at least if you show up for this upcoming lockdown on the 7th, if you haven't made up your mind yet, you'll be able to say that, you did maybe the last paranormal investigation that was ever done inside the Clearfield County Jail. Who knows?
I don't see it. I think it is. I think the Clearfield Historical Foundation has that as a historical site. I don't think it's any kind of danger of being knocked down. It's just, will we have access to it after somebody else buys it? So, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be torn down anytime soon.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You hate to lose things like that. And, like I say, one of the things I know that you kind of regret never having had the chance to investigate the Phillipsburg State Hospital.
Oh, we were so close. We were so close.
And, there's another one that you would be familiar with. I don't know. Have you ever been to the Crescent SCI?
No.
Okay.
And,
but you talk about a place, and I don't know what the status is of that since it's no longer operational as a state correctional institute.
Right. That was bought by a private owner.
Yeah. It has. Okay.
Yeah, it's been bought by a private owner. Yep.
Any rumors as to what may happen with it?
I have no idea. I don't
know how much of the old, as they used to call it, sanitarium is left there. But it's very similar to many of the things, and you don't realize how big of because it's been basically eradicated, tuberculosis, how huge that was in our country in the 40s and 50s and 30s. Right. There were a lot of people died from tuberculosis, and there were a lot of these centers around the country. And all of them that were known for that seemed to be somewhat replete with paranormal activity. So take Waverly Hills, for example.
Yeah.
All right. It is Mo Valley Paranormal Live, our regular weekly get-together and discussion of the paranormal and the investigation of it. We'll continue our discussion right after this on WBLF. News Talk 970 WBLF. Mo Valley Paranormal Live is what you're listening to. It's our regular weekly get-together and discussion of the paranormal and the investigation thereof. I am Dave Shannon, and that guy over there is Tyson Lidgett.
Hello, everybody. Glad to have you along.
For those of you who don't know, Tyson is the founder and lead investigator of Mo Valley Paranormal. And what that means is he's spent a lot of money gathering paranormal investigating equipment.
I have.
Yeah. And he's done, in addition to that, since he has all that paranormal investigating equipment, he's done, I think he's lost track of how many hours he's been out there investigating.
Yeah, too many.
Yeah, it's...
Sleep is so overrated, though.
Definitely, if you're into paranormal investigating, you got to say sleep's overrated because you definitely get starved for it. Anyway, yep, that's Tyson, and how
you always hear people say, well, "I'll sleep when I'm dead." When I'm dead, I plan on sleeping a long time. So if someone tries to contact me, I'll be somewhere in the afterlife, a do not disturb sign, because I'm not talking to anybody for a while. I got a lot of sleep to catch up on this life.
Yeah. All right. By the way, if you do, we are streaming, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And if you happen to be listening to the stream and you have a question, give us a call, 814-272-9700, and we'll take your question. You can also drop a question at the Mo Valley Paranormal Facebook page. And if you have any questions about things that we discuss on the show. And I well, just to bring it up, and not completely totally unique to put a camera on a little buggy, little dune buggy, any kind of an RC vehicle. Well, one of the things I've seen that particular, and we're talking about something that happened on Ghost Brothers, and we'll talk about their show here in a little bit, but the whole idea of having a remote controlled camera like that to get into tiny places is something that doesn't get used very often. I understand why they did that in this recent episode. Is that anything that you ever gave thought to at all?
No, because I mean, why would there be a ghost in some little crevice of a wall or something? I don't. Yeah, unless it's to check out something. Like we have one of those cameras, like on a, I don't know what you want to call it, like a, almost like one of those mechanical cameras that has like the camera at the very tip of the wire, where it look at
Oh,
Like a
okay.
drain
It's like
snake?
a snake.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and I mean, the only thing we have that for is to if we have like some disturbance in a wall or something, to see if it's like an animal or something in there. But we don't
Yeah.
stick it in the wall hoping to see some ghost hiding between the partitions of a wall. It's just I don't know. I've never seen the use for that. I mean, unless there's a part of a building where you're not allowed to access by walking into because it's falling apart. You
Yeah,
can send a
yeah.
buggy down the hallway to see if you can see anything. But no, I've never personally had any kind of desire to have a little RC car with a infrared camera on it. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, we have Darren and his drone. We could send a drone somewhere with the infrared camera on it if we wanted to do that. So.
Yeah, there has been some use of that as well. I'm trying to think if oh yeah, that was the
Paranormal
paranormal lockdown.
Right.
And they used and speaking of Waverly Hills, which we were going into the break, that's where they used their drone
Right.
to try to get some FLIR camera stuff, and they claimed that they had an image there. Tyson was still in doubt as to what that whether that was actually a something paranormal or whether it was some kind of a reflection. Even though FLIR cameras measure heat, it is still possible to get reflections.
Absolutely. If you point at something reflective, you're going to get your own body heat. So.
Yeah. So and that's but drones have come into play on their show, and of course the Ghost Brothers using a little RC vehicle to investigate here over the last week. It didn't produce any results.
Right.
Kind of a neat idea though, but just to see. But I understand what you're saying. Two reasons why you'd want to. And like Tyson said, one of which is to eliminate the potential of contamination as far as the site goes. Maybe you're checking for animals or whatever. And, the other part of it is if you want to eliminate that, or if you can't access a particular area, maybe you can send something like that in
Right.
to help you
If it's not
investigate an
safe for you
area
and your
you can't get to.
investigators, right? You don't want, sacrificing life of your RC car and your camera. Something would happen, yeah. But, while we're on the subject of investigating, just to show why research is so important, we have 4 cases already this year, and we're super excited to get back into our actual cases. We love our lockdowns, but we really enjoy getting in somewhere and investigating. And one of our cases, the family is dealing with some poltergeist-like activity, stuff moving around on its own, doors being slammed, such like that, and they continually hear the voice of a little girl. Well, my lead researcher, Debbie, who does a very good job, she, goes to the courthouses and historical foundations and, whatever she can find. And she has found that in this house, which is quite old, there have been 2 deaths of little girls, both the age of 3. and at different time periods.
Wow.
Plus,
that's kind of spooky in itself.
right,
Jeez.
right. Plus, one that's really kind of makes your skin crawl is a young man burned to death, but the house never burned down. And on the death certificate, it says the source of fire was unknown. So it almost sounds like
So we had a case of spontaneous human combustion.
So,
Wow.
it's so important to do good research and get it done so you know what you're dealing with when you go in. We could very well be dealing with, a little girl who's there still hanging around, possibly two, and somebody who's just pissed off because they don't know why they died. So it's very important to get in there and do your research and instead of going in haphazardly. And that's where the dividing line comes between paranormal investigators and ghost hunters. We're part of this umbrella term ghost hunters just because, you walk around some empty building at night with a camera and piece of equipment. That's not the case. As ghost hunters, you just, roll the dice and walk in somewhere and hoping to find, you're hunting for ghosts. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
As paranormal investigators, most of the work that is done for us is outside of the investigation with the research and then going over the audio and video to take back to somebody and say, here's what's going on, what we found or what we didn't find, and here's logical explanation for what could be going on. So there is a big difference between, ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. But just while we're on, the subject of investigating, that I thought I'd just bring that up. And there's been a couple cases we're looking at this year where, one case in particular, we have a family who is experiencing, strangely, some of the same occurrences in their home, hearing dresser drawers moving while they're downstairs, closet doors opening and closing while they're downstairs, the voice of children. And so, but the thing is, their house they're living in was built in 2000. And they're like, we don't understand why this is happening. Well, once again, Debbie does her job and goes out and researches and finds there used to be a farm on that land and 3 people died in that house that was on that land. So it's always important to get that research done, know what you're dealing with long before you go into a case, so you have some kind of idea what you're dealing with.
All right, coming up, we talk about the latest paranormal reality TV shows, and we'll do that after we take this time out. You're listening to Mo Valley Paranormal Live on News Talk 970 WBLF. News Talk 970 WBLF. The familiar strains of Scully's theme as done by Mark Snow. If you want to pick up any of the music from the X-Files, look up Mark Snow. He's the guy that did and continued to do, even with the TV miniseries that they did last year, was still doing the music for the X-Files. So I think he was on Gramophone, was the company that released all his stuff. Anyway, hi, it's Mo Valley Paranormal Live. I'm Dave Shannon. That guy over there is Tyson Lidgett.
Hello, everybody.
Digress just a little too much, but we're going to continue to digress as this would normally be our thoughtful and caring review of paranormal reality TV. But there's a big development thanks to People Magazine, I think.
No,
it's not People. It's somebody else that did something like what People Magazine
Yeah, this
does.
probably wasn't even on people's radar, but but yeah, what Dave is alluding to is this comes via ihorror.com, and I saw it being since I follow Grant Wilson on Facebook, and I liked it and I stole it from Grant actually. So Grant, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but it is the 9 of the sexiest reality TV ghost hunters alive. Now, People puts out every year you know, the sexiest man alive, sexiest woman alive, so on and so forth. Well, we have for your enjoyment the 9 of the sexiest reality TV ghost hunters alive. Okay.
Now, does this include females or?
Yes, male and female.
Ooh,
Male
okay.
and female.
Wow.
Okay, so we don't want to exclude anybody. So,
All right.
but yeah, I know you've always wondered this. You know, whoever's listening out
Oh,
there. So,
yeah.
but so number 9. Number 9 is the OG himself, Grant Wilson. That's why he was on his Facebook page. He's like, thank you, I guess. You know? so number 9, Grant Wilson. This original reality ghost hunter has a quiet style. His sex appeal lies in his nerdy nature and devotion to family. The bromance between him and his bestie Jason Hawes is best described as polar opposites, and I have to agree with that. I mean, it was just Grant was always a very logical, you know, kind of one saying, well, this is probably what this is. And what you saw that once he left the show and Jason had the reins at the beginning, because you heard stuff you never even heard before. There was episodes where he was talking about, like, you know, elf spirits and elementals and stuff like that, which you would never heard of when Grant was on the show. So number 8, much I'm sure he wishes he was number 1. Number 8 is Zach Bagans.
Oh, no!
Yes.
Number 8!
Yeah, Zach Bagans finds himself at the end of the list, okay?
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Yeah. Zach Bagans' Ghost Adventures, a pretty boy of paranormal activity, and perhaps the most hyperbolic first came onto the scene of incorporeal connectivity in his 2004 documentary called Ghost Adventures, of course, which we know he spun into a show, whose namesake was also used in a subsequent reality show for Travel Channel. I would also say the most dramatic TV star also. Number 7, Mr. Nick Groff of Paranormal Lockdown.
Oh, my.
Yes.
Bagans is,
Yes.
he's got to be beside
He
himself.
has to share a list with Nick Groff, okay? But they don't mention his time with Ghost Adventures. It just says Nick Groff of Paranormal Lockdown. The hirsute spirit chaser ain't afraid of no ghosts. That's on here. I'm reading it. I'm not saying that. And his just as sexy sidekick, Katrina Wyman, often has to be the voice of reason when they spend 72 hours confined and alone in their docuseries Paranormal Lockdown. I agree. All right. Number 6.
Number 6.
Is Elizabeth Saint. And up until she appeared on Ghost of Shepherdstown, I had no idea who she was.
Yeah, me neither.
Elizabeth.
And based on some of her responses, I'm sorry I found out about her.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. This is so scary. Let's go home.
Yeah, we'll come back tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Elizabeth Saint, Ghost of Shepherdstown, the supermodel of the supernatural. Saint is a woman who may distract the viewer from seeing evidence as it happens. Perhaps that is why the replay button is pushed so many times on her show, Ghost of Shepherdstown. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm in with you on that.
Number 5. You're not gonna do your little sound.
Number 5.
There we go. Okay. Is Adam Berry of Kindred Spirits.
Whoa, Adam, way to go, buddy.
Yeah, the original out gay ghost hunter has following of his own. The blonde-haired cutie originally won a spot next to Grant and Howe after winning a ghost hunter casting contest. That was the Ghost Hunters Academy that was run by.
Academy, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4.
Number 4.
Amy Bruni of Kindred Spirits. Speaking of Bruni, she is also a graduate of Ghost Hunters, and as mentioned before, is the second half of Adam Berry on Kindred Spirits. Top 3. Okay. Number 3.
Number 3
is Jawan Mass of Ghost Brothers.
Whoa, way to go, Jawan.
Yeah. New to the genre, Chicago-born Jawan accompanies his posse, the Ghost Brothers, to locations less confident people would otherwise avoid. So, Ghost Brothers, the only show on the boob tube right now has made the list here. Number 2.
Number 2.
There we go. Yes. Got some echo. All right. Now, better late than never. Ryan Buell.
What?
Yeah.
No!
Ryan Buell, Paranormal State. Sadly, this demon chaser has had some rough times with the law recently, but before all the controversy, Ryan did some pretty in-depth investigating. And finally, number 1.
Number 1.
Not a surprise to anybody, Miss Chris Williams of Ghost Hunters.
Yes!
If
All right, people remember Chris. Yes!
Yes. Wasn't.
I'm all behind this. I love the list now. I love the list for a couple of reasons, but
If Elizabeth Saint is a supermodel of the supernatural, then Chris Williams is her runway companion. Williams is a graduate of Ghost Hunters Academy and appeared to be the TED Talks of haunted houses. She often defends her choice of career, saying that fans may be wanting instant gratification of evidence where it takes hours or days to gather. So there you have it, folks. There's your top 9 sexy reality paranormal TV personalities. I can't talk.
Compiled by iHorror.
iHorror.com, yes.
So just keep that in mind, and maybe that's something we could have our listeners submit. Come up with a list of 10 paranormal, because I'm sure the boys from Ghost Asylum are a little bummed that they didn't make it. So
I was
at least one of them.
Yeah, I was surprised.
I mean,
Doogie
should have been on the list.
Well, what's the leader? What's the leader of the group's name?
Chris, I forget Chris's last name.
I figured him.
He's another graduate of Ghost Hunters Academy,
right?
By the way.
He didn't. He was a runner-up, I think, to Adam Berry.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I would have figured, him wearing his Baby Gap T-shirts that he buys at Gymboree, that he would have been on that list.
Yeah, so we should do our own then, don't you think?
Listen, I'm up for anything that'll fill time on this radio show.
Oh, okay. That's right. Mo Valley Paranormal Live is going into hiatus until we have more to talk about. No, not really, but why
Garrett's
not?
like, okay.
Why not go to the Facebook page?
Yes.
And submit your. I would like to nominate as to be on the sexiest paranormal investigator list.
Right.
And go ahead and start, submitting at Mo Valley Paranormal's Facebook page. We'll whittle the list down, and then we'll go ahead and set up voting. Geez, I assume Facebook does that. Garrett, who's our internet maven for all things Mo Valley Paranormal, does Facebook do a polling thing, Garrett?
They do, yeah.
Okay, because I've participated in these little mini polls on Twitter, and I hate Twitter, but unfortunately I'm on it for whatever reason. But every once in a while I go ahead and one of the people I follow, which I follow a total of 14, that person will do a poll from time to time, and I'll go ahead and vote on it. But we could whittle down the list based on suggestions that we get. And then we'll go ahead and open the voting up for an extended period of time. And at some point down the road, let you know what the final totals are.
Sure.
We'll probably, in order to tease more activity for voting, we'll probably say something like, hey, you people that are fans of Zach Bagans, you better get your votes in. And nothing will happen then.
Like all of my fellow COs right now listening at late night work right now. I'm not going to, be too upset if you nominate me for a couple votes.
There you go. Tyson should definitely be on the list. So should Darren. Darren should be on the list too, and maybe Carl. We could probably put Carl on the list. Anyway, that's something we'll try here at Mo Valley Paranormal. Begin submitting your suggestions for somebody who should be on that list. But I am absolutely thrilled because I had figured that the TV world would have forgotten Chris Williams because it has been an excessively long time since she has been on TV. The last thing she did was the Ghost Hunters International.
Mm-hmm.
And so she hasn't been on for a long time because GHI has been off for a long time. So very good, very good. There's a number of things about that list that I totally agree with. I'm somewhat disappointed that Katrina was eliminated from the voting considerations there, but hey, that's all right. All right, it's Mo Valley Paranormal Live. We now know, according to iHorror, who the sexiest TV reality show personalities are. And we'll come back and talk about those shows coming up next on News Talk 970 WBLF. News Talk 970 WBLF. Mo Valley Paranormal Live is the name of this radio program. We get together every week and discuss the paranormal, the investigation of that, and also then paranormal reality TV. I'm Dave Shannon. I'm the guy that just kind of hangs around. The guy with all the info, Tyson Lidgett.
Hello, everybody.
And he is kind to be with us each and every week and discuss this and add the insights of a paranormal investigator. Has a lot of hours under his belt. And to go along with that, we all end up with a lot of hours of watching paranormal reality TV, too.
Right.
Maybe more so for Tyson, since we've been doing Mo Valley Paranormal Live on the radio. Because I'm sure there are some of these shows that it's like, do I really have to watch this?
Too true.
There are currently 2 paranormal shows. We're losing one of them. This past week was the final episode of this for I don't know how long. Hopefully they're coming back. I still enjoy. It does, and of course they edit this for effect. But as Steve DeShabi goes through his investigation, and then they edit Amy's walk through of the property, and he'll discover something, and then they'll edit her encountering that spirit at that property.
Right. Kind of syncing up their information.
Yeah. It's kind of amazing. And once again, we have said this. I put this disclaimer on it. I accept it for what it is. I accept that they don't talk to each other. And to be honest with you, even though Amy may have skills as a psychic medium, there'd be a lot of memorization that'd have to go on to get all those details to sync up the way they do. That she would have to memorize all that so it would, coincide with reality. And we'll get to Dead Files in just a sec. We want to cover Ghost Brothers, who were at a... Before, you have... Tyson.
We lost you there for a second, Dave. What'd you say there, bud?
Yeah, I was talking about the fact that Ghost Brothers at a location that I had never seen on TV before.
Yeah, the Longleaf Sawmill.
Yeah, in Louisiana. And so this was, got underway in 1910, I guess, in a big way. 60 acres of land with this sawmill. And coincidentally, I thought this was kind of interesting. 60 acres, 60 people died during that sawmill's operation, which it closed in 1969. Now, if we can get one more 60 involved, then Zach Bagans would tell us that this is all demonic, because then you'd have your 666, right?
If you did long division, right? By 10.
Yeah, divide by 10 and you got 666.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Longleaf Sawmill. Interesting, it's kind of self-contained. They had a little train that would get the logs from one place to the next, train tracks on the property, which led to the death of someone. He was, I think, waving to his son, and he fell off the train, and then the train ran over him.
Right.
And that brought his life to a sudden conclusion. Some of the things they experience are shadow figures. The train whistle they'll hear at times, even though the train isn't running. But as we all know and have talked about on this program, residual energy is always around. And I'm thinking because there was a death on that train, that maybe that's why that train whistle residual energy goes off from time to time and people hear it. But they did work with one member of a group called Louisiana Spirits, a paranormal group that had investigated there at the sawmill before. They went ahead, they took a ride on the train. And then the newest, the go-to piece of equipment this year for the Ghost Brothers so far in their season is the REM pod.
Right.
They seem to be favoring that as a way to communicate. They are recording. I do think they learned to put their they're still using their phones, but they're putting them in airplane mode, I think, because there's been no accidental phones going off, and they're using those to record. And they have picked up some, there's so far in their young season here have had a number of EVPs that they've been able. I think one at the one location before where Marcus and the young woman teamed up together, that was, just a standard digital voice recorder. But I think Dalen's still using his phone to do recordings.
Yeah, I think so too. That's what it appears to be anyways.
They get some they get some minimal EVPs. At one point, trying to think of where that was. I think they asked if this was a particular person that was known to maybe be one of the ones that would be haunting, and they asked if that was the person, the spirit of that person, and they got a no, a pretty plain no, that came back to them on that. And as I say, I mean, they use the REM pods. Another thing, you talk about residual activity. Dalen and Tracy, who's the museum caretaker, right, investigated together in this machine shop. Another good residual thing that they both heard was the sound of a clock.
Right. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So they did have that happen in that machine shop area of the sawmill. Jawan and Marcus went along with Brad, who was the Louisiana Spirits dude. They heard there was this thump that they heard when they were investigating the area where they were. And then, by the way, one last thing, and I'm hoping they did this, but when Dalen and Tracy were investigating, they had the REM pod, and they asked, if you want us to leave, make that go off. And boy, it was about instantaneous.
Right.
The REM pod chirped, and they were out of there. So Jawan, Marcus, and Brad, meanwhile, investigating somewhere else, get a thump. And also, there was a pretty noticeable temperature drop that was not only what the guys felt, but also was verified with a Melmeter. So they did have a temperature drop there. There's history that says a 16-year-old boy was killed there because the rumor is that somebody wanted his job. It wasn't like jobs were easy to get, so somebody wanted the kid's job and he was killed. So they were trying to make contact with that particular spirit. Now, one of the things that did happen, in addition, there was a photo that was taken, and it was Dalen down in the pit there. Down in the pit, Tracy took a photo, and it looked to me like that might have been a bug in the background, but they were saying it was some kind of a ghostly figure in the background. I don't know what you thought, Tyson.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. She said it was instantaneous. I don't know if it, if I buy it or not. I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I mean, they took two pictures, and in the one there was nothing there, but it's an elongated piece of white, which generally when you see that, the shutters on cameras, on electronic cameras, tend to open up a little bit more because you're in the dark, and an insect flying of any size will be, will leave an elongated, there's a blur there instead of just actually seeing the insect.
Yeah,
coincidentally, they did have a photo that was taken in that exact same spot, and boy, was there ever an apparition in there. I don't know. You saw that, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a little more convincing. But the one they had there, I don't think that was anything more than just some article made by the camera. So
yeah. All right, and to finish up, they continued down that road to find out if there was this guy that was called the Stokes Killer.
Yeah.
And whether that was the spirit that was there was the Stokes Killer, and they did this investigation in the Skidder area. If you know anything about logging, that's what skidders. You do something with logs and you skid them across the ground and stuff. Anyway, they were asking if that was the Stokes killer and whether they were responsible for deaths. And they got the EVP, where they got the
right, the heavy breath. Yep.
Yeah, so they did get that. Did some investigating in the generator room of the sawmill, and they said they heard a footstep. I don't know. I was watching it. I didn't really hear it myself, but that was that. And then finally, I thought this was a cute touch at the end, where DeWan got out a Ghost Brothers check and left it there for the employees of the sawmill.
Oh, yes.
A $3 check. That was supposed to cover their wage.
Yeah, I guess put everybody at peace, I guess.
Yes, that was the idea. So that's what happened there. Then moving on to the Dead Files, paid a visit to the Rainbow's End Relics restaurant in Sedona, Arizona. And they had the owner contact him, who's had no personal experiences in the restaurant, but customers and employees are getting all kinds of, activity, things happening to them, things they're seeing. And Amy eventually talks about these creatures that she called them smoke creatures, I think, or something like that, smoke figures. And they had bright lights for eyes. And she had a sketch of it done. And interestingly enough, I thought, Tyson, there were two people that seemed to be sensitives, as they call them, to this type of activity that were both working there. The one still working there, the bookkeeper, and the other one had been a waitress there. I thought it was kind of interesting that you get a place with this kind of paranormal activity, and it draws in two living people to come to work there. I don't know. Kind of interesting, but Amy told the restaurant owner if he wanted to get rid of what was going on there, because he was kind of, you could tell he was taken back by the sketch that she had done. He said, well, I want to get rid of these things. I don't want these things bothering my customers. And she said, well, you're going to have a spiritual cleansing done every month for 6 months. And then a shaman had to come in to send these elementals, which is what she said the smoke figures were. And then a medium had to come in to get the regular dead people who seemed to be trapped there by the elementals to leave. And at the end of the episode, the owner of the restaurant did none of the things that Amy had suggested. And
the activity
continues. Yeah. All right. That's it for this week's Mo Valley Paranormal Live. We'll see you again next Saturday night on News Talk 970 WBLF. Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.